The one phrase that really sums up this year's Xbox Showcase is upside down. Games that I and many others expected to come out of the park with earth-shaking trailers instead barely produce a tremor. While titles most of us had long forgotten or abandoned entirely shook the gaming world with their innovative and exciting displays, providing fertile ground for streamers and video game drama channels who infest the internet with their hot takes. But I think that more often than not, we cannot truly understand an event until we've had time to process it. So in this video, I'm going to explore the good, the bad, and the ugly of this showcase with the benefit of hindsight. But before I do, I just want to remind you guys to like and subscribe. Most of my regular viewers are currently not subscribed, so if you're one of them or a newcomer who's enjoying what I'm offering, click that subscribe button below. You won't be disappointed, unlike with Dragon Age the Veilguard. The first trailer for the new Dragon Age game was, well...
We're going into the Fade, aren't we?
It was so bizarre and out of character that it literally took me 10 minutes to process that what I was seeing was in fact a Dragon Age game. At first, because I wasn't watching the showcase live, I just assumed I'd gone to the wrong place in the timeline, clicked on the wrong trailer, and ended up some sort of Fortnite multiplayer nonsense. It wasn't until I searched elsewhere with no success that I finally came to the realization that this was what Bioware had 10 years to produce. This is the new Dragon Age, distilled into a 2-minute long bombardment of blocky cartoonish figures, Overwatch-like animations, and explosions of colours so bright they felt like they came straight out of Dan Schneider's wet dream. Now don't get me wrong, I expected a change of pace. Dragon Age has always been a series that's worn many different hats, but not a Fortnite one. I just couldn't see that coming. It seemed like a complete 180, or was it? Was I instead just another keyboard warrior overreacting to every change for no reason? At the time, I wasn't sure, so I did some research, and it turns out my first instinct was completely right. This is how things ended in Inquisition.
Your death would cause more senseless chaos, more bloodshed. It is unnecessary. Though I doubt you will thank me. Live well, while time remains.
Does this ending really set up a Shrek-themed Overwatch expansion?
We're going into the Fade, aren't we?
I'm doubtful, but I'm not going to completely write off this game. There are still some indications that this trailer wasn't actually representative of what the game actually feels like. In-game images released by Bioware reveal a more mature tone with characters who look stylized, yes, but less cartoonish. And insiders with pre-access to in-game footage are giving it glowing appraisals. So I'm not going to be that guy who jumps to conclusions early and gets called out. But the way they've approached this just feels off, and none of us are crazy for thinking this in the meanwhile. This was a series that never shied away from tackling extremely dark themes and posing deep moral quandaries. So if the new game follows in this tradition, I just don't understand how its creators were able to sit down and come to the conclusion that a multiplayer hero shooter inspired trailer really represents this legacy, a sentiment that I also share about Avowed. Unlike Dragon Age, this wasn't exactly hyped. Of course, a section of the Obsidian fanbase who thought the Outer Worlds was a return to form, despite what their eyes and ears told them, were relatively excited. But apart from them, there wasn't really much to generate hype among the general population. And the new trailer only adds to this. The combat seems rigid, the environments come across as largely forgettable and generic, and the story just seems very pretentious, giving the whole game a very janky, unfinished sort of feel. Now that's not necessarily a problem for me in of itself. I love a bit of jank, as long as it's the product of genuine experimentation and innovation. The problem with Avowed is that I'm not seeing any of this, and from the looks of things, most of you aren't either. But as with Dragon Age, I'm not going to immediately call its failure. Obsidian's strength has always come from the world building and narrative department, a phrase no one has ever associated with the next big item of the showcase, Starfield. Bethesda had a big task with this one. Starfield was largely negatively received by fans at release, and unlike most Bethesda games, has only been viewed more and more negatively as time has gone by. So I'm surprised I'm even saying this, but this showcase was an unmitigated success for Bethesda. Not only did they introduce a bunch of vital new gameplay additions, like land vehicles, but also showed off an exciting new expansion. One that seems to address Starfield's biggest issue, lack of identity. Like a kid in a candy store, with Starfield's base game, Bethesda added everything and anything to their basket without thinking about the consequences, and as a result failed to form a cohesive experience. one that could appeal to a majority of gamers. It offered scope without depth, exploration without freedom, large settlements without life. Now, certain aspects Bethesda could never have really improved and are completely broken. As modders have revealed, exploration in particular is just not fixable. But I always thought that Starfield was not completely irredeemable as long as Bethesda shifted their focus away from the exploration that just can't be fixed and towards a smaller scale, more densely detailed narrative experience. And it's looking like they might be headed in this direction. If the first trailer for their upcoming expansion, Shattered Space, is a good indication, they seem to have swapped space travel for machine elves, and I'm all in. The level of visual spectacle blows anything in Starfield out of the park. The environments shown are not only breathtaking but bring a show of psychedelic flair Bethesda experimented with in Skyrim, but largely abandoned in favour of a more boring, muted colour palette. And the narrative gives off a much more intimate, thriller-like feeling, more reminiscent of a good game like Prey than Starfield. But I know in the end, this is Bethesda, and if anyone will find a way to screw up a backdrop like this, it's them. So I'm not going to outright declare Shattered Space to be the redemption of Starfield, but I'm at least curious about what the Great Serpent has to say. And curiosity really sums up how I feel about the new Fable.
Oh, right, Jew.
I know many people didn't like the first trailer, but I enjoyed the sense of humour, was cautiously excited for what more they had to offer. And this trailer only strengthens my curiosity. Not much was revealed. We found out that there's a big bad female villain, a drunken companion named Humphrey, who's played by Big Hands. If you're British, you know. And she's got the same face. But its very Fable British charm really stands out. Fable always had a uniquely fairy tale sort of charm that drifted between Disney and Grimm's tales. And by the look of it, the devs get this. There's nothing remarkable in the first few character interactions we saw, but they did communicate a sort of awkward, distinctly British charm that I can't get enough of. And is quite impressive given that this was a studio whose previous track record consisted entirely of the Forza Horizon games. So I'm excited. And just to preempt those who say, oh, this doesn't feel like Fable, it feels different, here's some of the Fable 2 trailer.
Now they face their greatest threat, and they need their greatest hero. You. Unless someone better comes along.
And here's the new one.
Oh, right, Jew. So, you want to know all about heroes, do you? Well, you have come to the right place.
Similar vibes, eh? Now it's time for the new stuff, the wildcards. And my first pick in this bunch has to be Perfect Dark. I'll admit, at first I was skeptical. The whole things are not as they seem premise just didn't land for me. And I had no personal connection to the dormant franchise it was reviving. But as the trailer went on and revealed more of the gameplay, it gradually began to intrigue me. What I saw reminded me a bit of a mix between Dishonored, Deus Ex, and Mirror's Edge, weirdly enough. Not bad. Plus, I've never seen this before, so I'm intrigued at the very least, which is a feeling I also share for Claire, obscure Operation 33. Didn't think I'd get through that, jeez. I'm not gonna lie, at first I thought this was just complete nonsense. The whole kill the bad guy plot came off as instantly cheesy and generic. But as the plot gave way to displays of the more unique and vivid locations, I slowly became more receptive to what Operation 33 was offering. And then when the big bomb hit, of course I'm talking about the turn-based system, I was all in. We didn't get much insight as to how exactly the system works, but from first glance, it seems to combine a mix of real-time button prompts and classic menu-based strategy. But regardless, as a long-time fan of turn-based games, I can't help but get excited by the rare occasions when a AAA quality extravaganza decides to tackle a turn-based system. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and if you didn't, let me know why.